Governor Jack Markell is here to help us sort through some of what happened yesterday. Governor, thanks for coming in. And the simple stuff really happened in Delaware. Things went pretty much as we expected, and now you introduced John Carney last night in Wilmington at the celebration for him, and now the transition starts between the two of you. How soon does that process get underway? What happens first?
Well, our administration's been working on the transition for months, knowing obviously that this day was coming, so each of our agencies has been putting together transition documents. We want this to be as seamless as possible so that when Governor Carney takes office, he and his team can hit the ground running. And we think it's a really important part of our responsibility to end well so that they can start well.
And when you first came into office, you were facing a huge deficit, $800 million and all kinds of problems. John Carney doesn't go into office facing close to that problem, but there is significant economic challenges. How does the way you're sort of setting up the budget kind of jive with what he will come in and do and the challenge that he faces?
Well, we think it's really important that his budget team in particular is very well versed on the challenges that we're facing. So we will plan on including them as soon as they're ready to be part of our conversations as we put together the budget.
And are you confident that the budget that is in effect, that passed in June, sort of holds that the economic picture through the end of June is okay for this fiscal year?
Yeah, I think the real issue for us is putting together a budget for the next year, and we expect shortfalls. We didn't make some of the cuts at the end of last year that I had wanted to make. So we've got some significant work to do for sure. And
you've talked about the challenge that healthcare costs impact on the state, and that's another thing that that Governor Carney will have to deal with as well. Do you think he will be able to move the ball a little bit more on that?
I hope so, for the because I think he's going to have to, and it's not up to him alone. It's the General Assembly that's going to have to be willing to do some things that they were not willing to do in the last year or two. But we're going to make sure that we communicate that as clearly as possible, be as open as possible, totally open with him and his team.
And the General Assembly obviously stays Democratic, but big loss in the state Senate surprised a lot of people that were at the Democratic headquarters last night. Surprise you?
It did surprise me.
Patty Blevins.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And she's been, I think, a very strong leader in the state Senate for years now. She came in. I've worked with 3 pro tems over my time, and she came in a few years ago, and I think has done a very good job in some tough circumstances. So she'll be missed for sure. I'll miss her.
And then the other big surprise of last night came nationally with now President-elect Trump going back over your political career, and as you've been watching things, do you remember a night like last night and the surprise that President-elect Trump defeated Hillary Clinton?
No, I've never seen anything like it. It did take me aback, and I think the question now is how do we move forward? And I think it's really important that those in office listen pretty carefully. The country sent a message, and I would say to those who were on the losing end of that battle, we have to continue to work as hard as we can to work together, to work with the other side, so that all people can go as far as their potential will take them. And to the folks who are on the winning side, I just really encourage them to be gracious in their victory. And this is a time for everybody to really work together. He will be the president, and so I think my view is we all want to have the best president we can possibly have, and so I'm hoping that he will surround himself with a great team who will be thoughtful, and that's everybody's committed to try to unify the country.
Delaware's first Congresswoman elected last night, and she talked a lot about sort of taking, like we've heard from other representatives and our senators, taking the Delaware way to Washington and really trying to work across the aisle. Do you see a President Trump sort of building some of that consensus at all?
I hope so. I mean, he certainly is not going to want to go down as a bad president. We can disagree with the kind of things that he talked about during the campaign, but the campaign's over. And so, if he is willing to work to unify the country in reality, in actions, as well as in words, then I think it's incumbent upon others to work with him. And I sure hope that that's where he goes, because if he doesn't, I really fear that were in for years and years of additional vitriol.
You did some campaigning for the Clinton campaign this year. Any kind of hint from the crowds that you talked to, folks that you talked to, that this was a concern, that this was even within the realm of possibility from those Clinton supporters?
Well, I went to 3 states. I went to Ohio, and I went to Utah, and I went to New Hampshire. In Ohio and Utah, I was really just working with Democrats. So I, frankly, with them, did not get a big sense. When I went to New Hampshire, it was a different story. And I went to a couple of restaurants and going table to table. And I was amazed, really, by what I was hearing, both in terms of folks who were supporting him, people who unfortunately did not like Secretary Clinton. I thought very highly of her. I thought she would have been a very good president. And just in terms of being exposed to people who were, really on the fence and expressing their concerns with both candidates, I did think in the end that she would pull it out. I have to say, I was wrong, like most of the, people predicting were wrong. But now, again, we do have this tradition in Delaware of Return Day, where it formally marks the end of the campaign season, and people work together after that. And I certainly hope that that's the spirit that continues here in Delaware. And I do hope that Washington can take a little bit of that from Delaware as well.
We'll see how it pans out. Governor Jack Markell, thanks for visiting with us.
Thanks, Mark.
Appreciate it.